Hello everyone, today we will have a topic about the photosynthesis. So what is photosynthesis? We will study into the details. Photosynthesis are the autotrophic plants synthesize enormous amount of organic food with the help of the light energy which has been available from the sun. Okay, so carbohydrates produced from the photosynthesis constitute from the basic raw materials which directly or indirectly give rise to the organic compounds of all the plants and animals. Okay, so now the entire humanity which is dependently complete from the preparation of the food of plants, right? So the every year some 200 billion tons of carbon go through the photosynthesis process. Photosynthesis is this an anabolic process in which, as I told you, carbohydrates are synthesized from the carbon dioxide and water by green plants using the radiant energy, that is the sun. Okay, that are oxygen being as a byproduct, which contains autotroph, heterotrophs, raw materials, products, energy source, and the site of photosynthesis, that is the chloroplast. This is the photosynthesis formula, that is carbon dioxide with the addition of water with the help of the chlorophyll and the sunlight, which forms the glucose plus oxygen. Photosynthesis required for the all living organisms. We have two types here, autotrophs and heterotrophs. Heterotrophs are the plants which or the organism which prepare their own food using the with the help of the sunlight, which is the sun energy, carbon dioxide and the water. Okay, they are called the producers. Example are the green plants and the protist groups. Heterotrophs that they get energy from the organic compounds produced by the other organisms that are the consumers. Example is the fungi, animals, and the many other protist groups. Photosynthesis convert light energy to the chemical energy of food. Plant absorbs water and minerals from the roots. With the help of the sunlight, the leaves takes in the carbon dioxide from the air and releases the oxygen. It helps to make the its own processing food, and the sunlight with gives the chloroplast energy. It is being made as a sugar. The site of photosynthesis in eukaryotics, that is the algae and the higher plants, is the chloroplast. Okay, so the cell contains 1 to the 1000 numbers of the chloroplast. Light reactions takes place into the thylakoid membrane. Okay, so like mitochondria, which they resembles into the many ways. Chloroplasts have a highly permeable outer membrane and nearly impermeable inner membrane, which has been separated by a narrow intermembrane spaces. So the inner membrane which are enclosed by the stroma, a concentrated solutions of enzymes including those which is required for the carbohydrate synthesis. The stroma also contains the DNA, RNA and the ribosomes involved into the synthesis of several chloroplast proteins. The stroma in turn surrounds a third membranous compartment which is the thylakoid. The thylakoid is probably a single highly folded vesicles, although in the most of the organism it appears to the consist of the stack of discs, which is also called as the grana, which contains like a sac. For the singular it is called as the granum, which are interconnected by the unstacked stromal lamellae. So the chloroplast usually contains 1 to 100 grana. The thylakoid membranes arise from the inner membrane of developing chloroplast and therefore resembles the mitochondrial cristae. The thylakoid membranes contains the protein complexes involved in harvesting light energy, transporting electrons and synthesizing ATP. In photosynthesis bacteria, the machinery for the light energy or the light reactions is located in through the plasma membrane, which often forms odd multilaminar structures that resembles the grana. The chloroplasts and the chlorophylls are present inside the plants. So, these are the two structures of chloroplast and the chlorophyll. What is chlorophyll? Chlorophyll is a natural, which is a fat soluble molecule found inside the plants, which allows plants to convert light into the energy. Chlorophyll is also known as the blood of plants and it acts like the hemoglobin in the human beings. Chlorophyll is normally formed from a precursor called as the protochlorophyll. Okay, so the chlorophyll in the absence of two hydrogen atoms in one of the pyrrole ring. Seedlings which are grown into the dark although to the darkness produces a small amount of protochlorophyll. If such eluted seedlings are transferred to the light, then the protochlorophyll is generally or converted to the chlorophyll A. Okay, so the gymnosperm seeds, however, are capable of producing chlorophyll even into the darkness. In this case, is the final reduction of protochlorophyll to the chlorophyll would appear to the chemical rather than the photochemical reaction. Chlorophyll are the photoreceptor pigments. There are at least 7 types of chlorophyll known as chlorophyll A, B, C, D and E, bacteriochlorophyll and bacterioviridin. All these chlorophyll molecules contains a tetrapyrrole ring. A pyrrole molecule contains a skeleton of 5 atoms, 4 carbons and 1 nitrogen, and the 5 are arranged into the ring. For 4 such pyrroles rings formed a head. Okay. So these are been converted to the pyrifine ring at one point is an alcohol which is a phytol. It is called also as a tail. A long chain of linked carbons, relatively minor variations into the kinds and the grouping of the other atoms joined to this head and tail skeleton account for the different or the among different kinds of chlorophylls. Okay, so the chlorophylls are A and B are the two most abundant chlorophylls. Chlorophyll A is found into the autotrophic plants except the photosynthetic bacteria. Chlorophyll B is present into the blue-green and the brown and the red algae. The other chlorophyll C, D and E are found only into the algae and in combination with the chlorophyll A. Chlorophyll B or the chlorophyll A possesses the a methyl group which has been replaced by the aldehyde group in the chlorophyll B. The chlorophylls are primarily located within the grana thylakoids. Okay, the chlorophyll molecules form a monolayer between the protein and the lipid layers of the membrane of the thylakoids. The hydrophilic head of the chlorophyll molecules are embedded within the protein layers, while the lipophilic tails are located within the lipid layer. The portion of the electromagnetic spectrum which participates in the photosynthesis is from specially 300 to 900 nanometer. Okay, so when white light is passes through the sample of hydrogen gas, an absorption spectrum has been produced. If the high voltage is applied to the gas, the corresponding emission spectrum is been produced. So there are different elements have different line spectra, so they can be used like barcodes to identify the unknown elements. In this table, it shows that the chlorophyll A has the two prominent absorption peak at the 430 nanometer and 662 nanometer. They are the reports of the different forms of the chlorophyll A with the absorption at the peak at the 660, 670, 680, 685, 690 and 695 to 720 nanometers. These variations are due to the environmental changes. The absorption peaks of the chlorophyll B occurs at the 453 and 4 or the 642 nanometer. The pigments in the green sulfur bacteria are called as the chlorobium chlorophylls, which are the absorption peaks are into the red region at the 650 to 660 nanometer. They are always associated with the bacteriochlorophyll A. The pigment synthesis of the chromatium is composed to the three forms of bacteriochlorophyll which absorbs wavelength of the 800 nanometer, 850 nanometer and 890 nanometer. Carotenoids are the main accessory pigments into the photosynthesis. They transfer light energy to the chlorophyll for photosynthesis. The carotenoids are widely distributed into the plants. They occur into the bacteria, algae and the higher plants. They include orange carotenoids or the carotenes and contains yellow xanthophylls. They absorb the wavelength about to 400 nanometer to 500 nanometer. Because of this, they are orange in color of the carotenes and the beta carotene is the abundant type. Photosynthesis contains the two types of reaction, light reaction and the dark reaction. Into the light reactions, light needed to produce organic energy molecules ATP and NADPH. Dark reactions which does not need light. Instead, dark reactions uses the ATP and NADP to produce the energy molecules. This diagram is the thylakoid membrane diagram. There are the four complexes into the membrane of the thylakoids. They are big size in stringed, which is been proteins which projects both the side of the membrane. The bacterial arrangement of the protein and their position either towards the lumen or the stroma is ideally suited to for creating proton gradient For the ATP synthesis, there are the four types of complex 1, 2, 3 and 4, which contains the lumen, complex 1 and 2 which are present inside the lumen, complex 3 and 4 it's the stroma. Okay, they are the coupling factors for or the ATP synthesis. The organization of the members of the electron transport chain in the membrane of the thylakoids. It will be seen that whereas the PS2 breaks up the water within the lumen of the thylakoid, the PS1 reduces the NADP plus to NADPH onto the stromal side. It is interesting to note that the ATP is also synthesized to the stromal side. The photolysis of the water and the PQ cytochrome pump results into the accumulation of the hydrogen plus ion into the lumen. It creates the proton gradient, which along with the electron gradient results into the synthesis of ATP. When the proton enters the CP or the CF, which enters the CF, which is the coupling factor, ATPase from the lumen side diffuses into the stromal side.